423 years ago, a story began on the edge of an unknown continent. It was a story shaped by hope and fear, freedom and force, unity and division. In 1607, a small group of settlers arrived on unfamiliar land, unaware they were stepping into the beginning of a story that would shape the modern world. From native lands to new colonies, from revolution to global power, America's journey has been marked by struggle, sacrifice, and constant change. This is not just the history of a nation or a tale of presidents and wars. It is the story of people, survival, ambition, rebellion, invention, and a country that continues to redefine itself. Today, we travel through 423 years of American history, from fragile colonies to a global superpower. Long before European ships ever touched its shores, this land was already home to millions. Powerful civilizations like the Apache, Iroquois, Cherokee, and Sioux thrived across North America. They were not wandering tribes, but sophisticated societies with their own governments, vibrant cultures, and extensive trade networks that crisscrossed the continent. They farmed the land with deep respect for nature and passed down their knowledge through generations of oral tradition. This was America before it had a name, a land rich with history and heritage. Thought began to change forever in 1607, when Jamestown became the first permanent English settlement. Life for these early colonists was brutal. Disease, starvation, and conflict with native tribes claimed countless lives. A few years later, in 1620, the Pilgrims arrived on the Mayflower, not seeking wealth, but religious freedom. Slowly, over the next century, 13 distinct British colonies formed along the Atlantic coast. Each developed its own unique identity, its own way of life, but all remained under the distant rule of the British Crown. As the colonies grew, so did their economies, built on agriculture and trade. But this growth was fueled by a terrible injustice. Millions of Africans were captured, torn from their homes, and forced into the brutal system of slavery. They became the unwilling backbone of the colonial economy, their labor building wealth they would never share. At the same time, Great Britain began imposing heavy taxes on the colonists to pay for its own wars. No taxation without representation became a rallying cry. Anger simmered, resistance grew, and the colonies began to question whether they were British subjects or something entirely new. That simmering tension finally erupted into open war in 1775. The American Revolution had begun. Citizen soldiers, known as Minutemen, faced the might of the British Army, fighting for the radical idea of independence. A year later, in 1776, the Declaration of Independence was signed. Its powerful words declared that all men are created equal and have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. After years of bloody struggle and sacrifice, with crucial help from France, America won its freedom in 1783. A new nation was born. Now came the difficult task of building that nation. The founders created a revolutionary document, the United States Constitution. It established a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, with a system of checks and balances, separation of powers, and a Bill of Rights guaranteeing freedoms like speech and religion. George Washington became the first president, guiding the young republic through its fragile early years. The nation then began to expand westward, driven by the belief in manifest destiny and the promise of new opportunities. This expansion, however, came at a tragic cost to the Native American populations, who were displaced and whose lands were taken. By the mid-1800s, the nation was tearing itself apart. The core issue was slavery. The industrial North largely opposed it, while the agricultural South depended on it for its entire way of life. The division grew deeper and more bitter until 1861, when the Civil War began. It was a brutal, devastating conflict, pitting brother against brother, and it remains the deadliest war in American history. In 1865, the war finally ended. The Union was preserved, and slavery was abolished. But the country was left with deep, painful wounds that would take generations to heal. In the decades following the Civil War, America underwent a stunning transformation. It was the age of industry. Railroads stitched the vast country together. Factories churned out new goods, and cities exploded in size. This rapid growth drew millions of immigrants from Europe and Asia, all chasing the American dream. They faced hardship, poverty, and discrimination, but they also found opportunity. Their hard work fueled the nation's rise, turning America into an economic powerhouse on the world stage. The 20th century thrust America into global conflicts. In 1917, it entered World War I, and just 2 decades later, it was pulled into the even greater devastation of World War II. After the victory over the Axis powers, the United States emerged not just as a victor, but as a global superpower. The post-war years saw an unprecedented economic boom, a surge in technological innovation, and the spread of American culture and influence across the globe. But this new era of power brought new anxieties. The Cold War began, a decades-long ideological struggle against the Soviet Union marked by nuclear fear, proxy wars, and a thrilling race to the moon. While America looked to the stars, a crucial battle was being fought on its own streets. African Americans, tired of segregation and injustice, rose up to demand the rights they had long been denied. Led by inspiring figures like Martin Luther King Jr., the civil rights movement used peaceful protest and powerful words to challenge the nation's conscience, leading to landmark laws that reshaped American society. The late 20th and early 21st centuries brought a new set of challenges. The divisive Vietnam War, political scandals, and the shocking 9/11 attacks tested the nation's resolve. At the same time, a technological revolution was underway. The internet, personal computers, smartphones, and social media fundamentally changed how we live, work, and communicate with one another. While innovation soared, political divisions deepened, creating a polarized and often contentious social landscape. Today, the United States is a nation of immense diversity, power, and contradiction. It remains a world leader in science, technology, culture, and entertainment. Its military is the most powerful on Earth, yet it continues to grapple with deep-seated issues of inequality, political polarization, narrative that is still being written every single day by its people. For 423 years, America has risen, fallen, and constantly reinvented itself. It is a story of incredible courage and terrible conflict, of boundless hope and immense hardship. Understanding this complex and often contradictory history is essential to understanding the world we live in today. The past is never truly past. It shapes our present and holds the clues to our future. The American experiment continues, and what comes next depends on all of us. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey through history interesting, please like this video and subscribe for more.